November 29th, 2020, Bahrain. I want you to picture this scene. Romain Grosjean's car hits a steel barrier at, 137 miles per hour? It doesn't just crash, it splits in two and erupts into this massive fireball. For 28 seconds, and believe me, that is an eternity, he's trapped inside that inferno. And then, somehow, impossibly, he gets out. He just walks away.
So, that's the big question, right? How on earth does anyone survive that? An impact that literally tears a Formula One car apart and turns it into a bonfire. I'll tell you what it isn't. It's not just luck. No, the answer is pure, brilliant engineering.
You know, if this had happened just a few decades ago, it's a completely different story, a fatal one. But Grosjean, he had two key pieces of tech on his side. And what's wild is that both of them were actually fought against tooth and nail by the sport at first. We're talking about the HANS device and the halo. So yeah, let's get into it.
All right, first up, we need to talk about the silent killer. Because before you even think about fire or the car breaking apart, the single deadliest force in a crash was something you couldn't even see. It was this violent, instantaneous snap of the driver's head.
It has a name: Basilar skull fracture. Okay, so think about it. In a huge frontal crash, the 5-point harness does an amazing job of stopping the driver's body. But what about the head? Nothing was stopping the head. So the body stops, but the head keeps going with all that force, whipping forward and literally separating the skull from the spine. I mean, it's a devastating injury, and almost always fatal.
And that's where Dr. Robert Hubbard comes in with his invention, the head and neck support device, or as we all know it, the HANS device. And the physics behind it? Genuinely brilliant in its simplicity. It's basically a U-shaped carbon fiber collar that sits on the driver's shoulders. The seatbelts pin it down, and then these flexible tethers connect the collar right to the helmet.
And the difference this makes, it's night and day. Without a HANS device, your neck basically becomes the single weak point, taking all of that insane force. But with HANS, suddenly your head and your torso are linked up. They move as one unit. They slow down together. All those deadly forces get rerouted from your fragile neck to your much stronger chest and shoulders. It's a total game changer.
You'd think everyone would jump on this, right? Well, no. For years, drivers actually resisted it. They thought it was bulky, restrictive, just a pain. It wasn't until the tragic death of an absolute legend, Dale Earnhardt, in the 2001 Daytona 500 from that exact injury that the racing world was finally forced to wake up and take this seriously.
And once it was mandated, the results were just undeniable. This one piece of gear practically eliminated what was once the #1 killer in high-speed racing. I mean, a true revolution in safety. But that was only solving one part of the problem.
So, okay, the neck is protected now. What's the next big weak spot? Well, it's the driver's head itself. For like 100 years, the open cockpit was just what motorsport looked like. But it also meant the driver's head was completely exposed to flying debris, or worse, other cars. The proposed solution? The halo.
Now, the first thing you need to wrap your head around with the halo is its absolutely insane strength. It's designed to withstand 125 kilonewtons of force. Now, what does that even mean? Well, to put it in perspective for you, that's like taking a 12-ton double-decker bus and just placing it right on top. Yeah, that's strong. So what is it? It's this wishbone-shaped bar made of grade 5 titanium, and it's bolted directly onto the car's survival cell. That's the super strong carbon fiber chassis. And its entire job, its only purpose, is to be a shield, to deflect anything big and nasty, flying tires, chunks of another car, you name it, away from the driver's helmet. But just like the HANS device, when the halo was made mandatory in 2018, oh boy, the backlash was fierce. Drivers, fans, teams, pretty much everyone hated it. They called it ugly, a glorified flip-flop that just ruined the look of the cars. The big argument was that it went against the very DNA of Formula One.
Here's the thing though, data doesn't really care about how something looks. The FIA, the sports governing body, ran a ton of simulations based on real-world accidents, and their conclusion? It was crystal clear. Having the halo on a car increased a driver's chance of survival by a staggering 17%. 17!
And you know what? That whole debate about aesthetics, it pretty much vanished overnight because it didn't take long at all for the halo to prove its worth. Not in some computer simulation, but in terrifying, very real crashes.
I mean, the list just started growing. In its very first year, 2018,
Another car literally flew over Charles Leclerc, leaving tire marks on his halo. Saved. Then in 2021 at Monza, Max Verstappen's car landed right on top of Lewis Hamilton's cockpit. The halo took the full force of the wheel, inches from Lewis's head. Saved. And then in 2022, who could forget Zhu Guanyu's crash at Silverstone? He slid upside down for hundreds of feet, the halo grinding into the asphalt, protecting his head the entire time. Saved. The thing just kept proving its critics wrong.
And that brings us right back to where we started, back to Romain Grosjean. Because in his unbelievable crash, the halo did something that nobody had even predicted or designed it for. It acted like a wedge. It pierced that steel guardrail and literally parted it, creating a survivable space for his helmet to pass through. Without that, it's a direct impact to the head. It's not survivable.
So when you look at these two pieces of tech, the HANS and the halo, they really do feel miraculous. But it is so important to remember they weren't just invented in some lab out of the blue. They were born from tragedy. Look, safety in motorsport isn't one giant leap. It's a slow, often painful, step-by-step process. Every improvement is a lesson learned from the past. We lost absolute giants of the sport: Ayrton Senna, Dale Earnhardt, Jules Bianchi. Their terrible accidents, and the accidents of so many others, they provided the heartbreaking data that led directly to these innovations. And today, the HANS and the halo are completely non-negotiable. They are the pinnacle of engineering that's not about being faster. It's about making sure the driver gets to go home. Romain Grosjean walking away from that fireball is the ultimate testament to this relentless, decades-long push for safety. It's proof that engineering really can solve problems that seem impossible. And it leaves us with one big question to think about. In sports where speed is everything, what's the next frontier for keeping these drivers safe?